Sudden cardiac arrest is the #1 killer of adults in the United States, killing almost 1,000 Americans every day. When someone goes into cardiac arrest, their heart isn't effectively beating or it stops beating altogether. And the only thing that restores the natural rhythm of the heart is a shock from an automatic external defibrillator, also known as an AED. For every moment that goes by without defibrillation, the chance of survival decreases by 10%. Good afternoon, my name is Angie Buckalew, and I am the founder of corVita. We're a med tech company, we're based in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we're transforming the way that we respond to cardiac emergencies. See, the problem is, there's 7 major manufacturers of AEDs that are approved by the FDA. They are all completely independent of each other, each holding their own proprietary set of pads that's not compatible with other brands. And as a result, when a victim suffers a cardiac emergency, they can endure multiple pad removals in a single cardiac event. I witnessed this firsthand in my 25 years in the healthcare industry. And in 2014, I founded HTH Safety Solutions, and I was on a mission, and that mission was to save lives. At HTH, we have sold thousands of AEDs nationwide, and we've certified over 100,000 individuals on CPR, first aid, and AED. In one of my trainings, a student shared his experience with me. He was on a construction job site, and he had a heart attack. His coworker, they rushed him to the nearest hospital. Once there, they applied the AED. They saw how fragile his status was, and they called in Lifeline. When Lifeline arrived, the unit that they had was not compatible with the hospital's unit. And in return, they had to rip off the pads the hospital just put on, only to apply their pads. They transport him to the cardiac hospital, and it happened again. The unit wasn't compatible again. So once again, they're ripping off those pads. Every time they rip off those pads, they're ripping off the top layer of dead skin and hair and damaging sensitive tissue. Compatibility is an issue, and it hasn't been addressed until now. Our solution is the corConnect, a universal adapter that now allows that compatibility amongst those 7 major manufacturers. So let's say that today in the JumpStart building, unfortunately, one of you gets so excited about my event that you go into cardiac arrest. And so I go out in the hall and I grab JumpStart's AED and I hook you up. This is great, this is exactly what needs to happen. So we grab the AED and we get you hooked up. And as soon as we do that, we begin CPR. Now, when the paramedics arrive, if they happen to have the same unit that we're currently using here at JumpStart, they can simply just pop the pads out, pop them into their unit, and then resume care. But remember, there's 7 different manufacturers of these AEDs, so it's really likely that when the paramedics arrive, their unit could be different than our unit. So the current protocol means that I have to stop my unit, rip those pads off. Sometimes the pads, they can leave like this sticky residue on the chest. So then I gotta go over to my resource kit, I gotta get out some alcohol wipes, prep the chest. Remember, this person is experiencing cardiac arrest. Their heart has stopped. They are not getting oxygen to their vital organs. So I prep the chest. And now the responders, they can hook up their unit. And then resume care. Now let me show you where the corConnect comes in. Now, when a responder arrives on scene and a unit is being used that's different than the one that they have, you can simply take their pads, unplug them, set them aside, plug in our corConnect, the universal adapter, pop the pads out of the unit being used, pop them into our adapter, and then resume care. Now, you may be wondering, why hasn't anybody addressed this issue yet? Well, quite frankly, I was wondering the same thing. But the truth is that AEDs, they are still relatively new in the community. It wasn't until around 2005 when the American Heart Association started incorporating them into your standard first aid training. And from there, they began to advocate. And now there are state mandates that require them in all high-risk areas, schools, airports, and government buildings. Compatibility is an issue. Hasn't been addressed until now. So this is not a hypothetical need, right? Our total addressable market is all US AEDs, and that comes in at a $2.1 billion market. Our service available market, we're gonna lock it down and just hone in on those professional responders, fire departments, and hospitals. And to beachhead, we're starting off with a focus just in the tri-state, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, which unlocks an initial $52 million revenue opportunity. We de-risk corVita in stages. In 2025, we did our friends and family raise, where we resolved regulatory and manufacturing uncertainties by engaging the FDA, prototype validation, and confirmation of our Class 3 medical device with no clinical testing. In 2026, we will begin our pre-seed raise, where we will eliminate functional risks by developing and testing our alpha build and securing early adapters. This raise is strengthened by a $225,000 JumpStart match, which we're prepared to pass on to our initial investor, one-to-one for the first $225,000 received. In 2027, we move into our seed round that fuels commercialization, initial sales, and PMA approval. And beginning in 2028, we shift into scale mode, where we expand our sales, grow distribution, and we get corVita nationwide. We recognize the seriousness of this, but hearing firsthand from clinicians, it is exactly why corVita must exist. Every second counts. Every life matters. And together today, we can help close the deadly gap in emergency response care. Thank you for your time.
Questions? Hey, Angie.
Be easy on me.
Yes.
Oh.
My question is very simple. Who is going to buy this company?
Yeah, absolutely. Who's going to buy the company or the product? The company. Well, I'm glad you asked because we have a very aggressive goal to sell. So we're looking to one of the 7 major manufacturers of AEDs to do a strategic sell in the next, we're hoping 5 to 7 years. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Other question? Great.
Is the existing platform modular so that if somebody else comes out with another machine, they can also accept that as well?
Yeah, so we do actually have phantom space on our adapter, but this area isn't an area that gets dabbled in often. So the newest AED to hit the market was the Avive that came out about 2 years ago. Prior to that, it had been 22 years since an AED had hit the market. So this isn't really a market that has a lot of action, but we are prepared with our phase 2 and phase 3 versions here to adjust as needed.
Thank you. One last question, Becky.
Yeah.
Your current cost of it, at least from a commercial standpoint, the EMTs or paramedics would bring this with them, right? And that would be where it would.
Yeah, absolutely. So we would like to have this incorporated onto their jump bag. And so it's just another, they're used to having pieces like the resource kit and the pads and everything right there with the unit. So in the ideal world, the paramedics will show up and they will have a corConnect. And then when they get to the hospital where that transfer could happen again, the hospital will have their own corConnect and they can just transfer there at the hospital.
One more round of applause for Angie. Thank you. Great job.